Peace. Driving to work, but I felt like there's a relentlessness about forgiving and healing and understanding and patience and tolerance and compassion. There's certain things, I've mentioned in some of my other shares that, you know, I had a I had an interesting childhood, and there was a lot of things that the majority of things that happen aren't mainstream. You know what I mean? And growing into adulthood, and I definitely played the victim for a long time. Why me, kind of, or whatever, and recovering from alcoholism as a self medicating, da 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 da, right? And I can definitely see where we're getting sober, because it's not easy, And I'm not talking about somebody who's like a binge drinker or a social drinker, and they say, "Oh, I'm gonna quit," or "I shouldn't drink so much." I mean, I would classify myself to have an addictive personality, and I was a straight up alcoholic at the end of my drink, hands down, no doubt, man. I had to drink to function. And getting sober was brutal, man. It was brutal. Because all of that stuff that I have been squashing down, it's got to come out. It's got to come out. It's got to, And once you take the anesthesia away, that hurts, But in the last, over the course of my sobriety, I've addressed, I would say, the majority, the high majority, if not all, of the things that I was self-medicating for. I've addressed them all on some level, no doubt, through self-awareness, through therapy, through talk therapy, through a wide variety of stuff, right? And I feel in general, I feel pretty good about the progress that I've made. However, the relentlessness of healing, again, going back to my childhood and my teen years, and and when I use the word trauma can be anything. And it's all relative to our own experience. One person can stub their toe, and that's the worst pain they've ever felt in their life. And then another person can be in a car accident, and that's, so it's all relative to our experience. So maybe my experiences are, the things that I was self-medicating for were, and I think you'd be hard-pressed, they were considerably more extreme, excuse me, I almost spit, considerably more extreme than the mainstream, what people would normally figure trauma is. And my heart goes out to anybody who suffered trauma in their life, legit trauma. Men, women, young, old, But what I've found is that the relentlessness of this journey is, even though I've addressed virtually everything that I am fully aware of, it can come back up in different ways where you realize or you come to a moment of clarity about a particular situation that was, let's just say, it was particularly more gruesome than your memory had allowed you to deal with. And then when the time comes, and somewhere deep down inside, you're intuitively heart-centered, and you're ready to deal with a larger aspect or a deeper dive into a particular incident. And I had that recently, um, over the past, within the past 5 days, where I came into some, like, I was like, is that a memory, or is that a dream, or is that something I made up? Is it an amalgamation of all my experiences, and I kind of amalgamated an experience, you know, and through a family member, I was able to, as appropriately as I possibly could, I talked to this family member, hey, do you remember this particular event? And they did, and they described, and it validated me. It was, no, that was a real experience that you had, and that this family member witnessed, and it just brought me to a greater depth of, like, what is real and what was potentially my imagination. No, that was real. That really happened. And I witnessed this, or somebody in my family witnessed this. Now, and it brought the trauma all back up again. And I found myself having to, even though I genuinely feel that I have forgiven and moved on, it brought up all of that hurt, and then the depth, like a new depth of what I experienced when I was a kid, like a new depth to it. And it felt, it hurt, man. It hurt. And, like, wow, that was real. That was real. So I spent a lot of time crying, snot running down my nose. I even ended up, whatever, man. I was like, I lost my voice, yesterday, the day before, from crying. And processing that, and the thing that the realization that I came to was, if I'm going to move on in my life and genuinely move on, and not just survive, but thrive, I can't bring any of that stuff with me. I have, as it comes up, and it's relentless. It's relentless. No matter what we discover new aspects or new angles on it, or a different viewpoint. And it's relentless. So our forgiveness must be in time with that relentlessness, and understanding and patience and tolerance, and for example, the subject, or the subject or the individual that I have in my mind's eye right now, I have forgiven this person, and I need to forgive that incident as well, or forgive it on a deeper level, if that makes any sense. But I can't bring, if I really genuinely want to thrive and have a life that's within my integrity, and a life that's worth living, and it's all about love, and loving that person as a whole, and understanding their position, and why they did the things they did, and why they reacted the way they reacted, and it puts a whole different spin on me, how I perceive it. It affords me the energy and the opportunity to forgive, and it also allows me to look at myself and forgive myself for things that I've done. I wouldn't, for example, hey, if you could go back and whatever, would you do that again? No, you've learned the lesson. You would never do that again. Have I made amends for that? Have I apologized? Have I, reconciled myself with that person, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah. Have I done all I can do? Yes. but holding on to that stuff as it comes up, and the deeper levels, or a tidbit of information that pulls a thread, you got to deal with it, because it's definitely something that like, there's a knowing in my heart. There's a knowing that I cannot bring any of that stuff with me if I have the direction and the drive and the intention to thrive, not just survive, but thrive. It's never ending, guys. It's never ending. And I could look back on all these experiences and feel like, have a sense of feeling overwhelmed by it. But when I consider the experiences that I had and what that would have set me up for, it would have set me up for failure, or I experienced some of that, but the experiences that I encountered would have set me up for not such a healthy life, emotionally, spiritually, physically. It would not have set me up that way. And let me tell you, man, when I look over my life, let's just say since I've been sober, 2001, when I look over the course of my journey in healing and loving and recovery and all of it, on an emotional, spiritual, and psychological sense, I like where I'm at, and to be in a position where I'm at now, it's a fucking miracle that I've learned to love, and I'm still struggling with this one. I've learned to love, but also to be loved, that I'm worthy and deserving of being loved by other people, family, friends, near and far, and I've had the good fortune to experience that, unconditional love of friends, and people that like soul family. Anyway, it's relentless, guys. So don't beat yourself up when this stuff, I thought I had dealt with that. Well, kudos, because, you're already aware of it. But there might be different aspects to it that come up. Don't be shocked, and don't get down on yourself, Cross that bridge when you get to it. And just remember that there's a certain part of it, or a certain aspect of it, that you are now prepared to experience, and to one of my friends, I think she might use the word transmute, to transmute something, to take a negative experience and turn it into a positive one, because if you looked at where I came from and where I'm at in my life now, it's a fucking miracle. I am badass, I'm badass, man. And so are you, I don't know. Figured I'd share some of my experiences, some of my joy, some of my encouragement, because there's plenty of people out there that encourage me and support me, and what's right is right. But I love you guys very much. Gonna leave my email in the description box. Have a glorious day, you guys, and peace out. Peace.